for being with us today. I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about what Milkbreak at Landmark School is.
Well, that's a great question. Thank you. Because wherever one goes, and you mentioned Milkbreak, nobody knows what it is. So, Milkbreak is really a pause, if you will. It's a pause to help the students take care of themselves. And if you think about students with dyslexia or language based learning disabilities or ADD, they're pushing a boulder up the mountain every day to learn, and they're working really hard to attend. They need a break. And so that break for them is about their self care in terms of getting away from the pressure of the classroom, being with their peers, getting something nutritious, hopefully a nice glass of milk and a really nutritious cookie of some sort, but that gives them energy to go back into third period. So for them, it is really, and that was part of the roots, is to give the kids a break, not going from one class to the next all day long, that break. And for the faculty, it's intense for them as well. So a break, but a chance to come together as a community, as a culture, to problem solve, to talk to each other, to get ideas about things, to make announcements. And so it's been going on since the beginning of Landmark, and it's really an opportunity to pause, to recalculate if necessary, to take a deep breath, and then to get ready for third period.
Perfect, but can you give us a little more detail about how it got started in the first place?
Sure, I'd like to say this was my brilliant concept, but it wasn't. Dr. Charles Drake, who founded Landmark, had summer programs. And as far back as I remember, 1969, at the Bates College campus, there was a milk break. And his concept was part of what I just said was these kids are working hard. There's a lot of psychic energy going into being in that classroom. They need a break. And they need something to nurture themselves, not just their souls, but their bodies. So they would literally come to the cafeteria, race in as quickly as they could, grab a cookie of some sort, a glass of milk, and they would have a milk break, if you will. But it was also an opportunity because he believed deeply in communication and community. And communication was, a teacher says, gosh, I'm really struggling with Greg today. Second period, he had a really hard time. Does anybody know what's going on? Somebody could say, yeah, he got a call from his father last night and his dog's not doing well, or whatever it might be. But by third period, a whole team was ready to work with Greg. We're able to communicate. Plus, there were training sessions. It was an opportunity for Dr. Drake and for June Hartel and for Christine Chris and for others to say, this is what you do for phonemic awareness in these arenas. Or I could say, I'm teaching social studies and my kids are struggling with cause and effect relationships. It's too abstract. Does anybody have any concepts or ideas or worksheets to work on this? And three teachers would jump in and we'd problem solve it. Or an announcement about the schedule or the weather or whatever it would be. So for the kids, it was that psychic break from the intensity of learning and something to nurture themselves. For the teachers, a break as well in the same regard, but an opportunity to learn, communicate, develop the culture, problem solve, and immediately attend to students' needs or each other's needs as soon as the meeting was over.
Perfect. And can you talk a little bit about how Milkbreak relates to self-care and why self-care is so important for us all?
Ah, I think self-care is the top of the mountain, and the more we can all do for ourselves and for others, the better we're all going to be. Teaching and learning are intense activities. And I have been so moved by the Landmark community for 50 years now with how much people put into what they do. It's almost selfless. You see teachers and administrators and residential people working with kids way beyond hours and between classes and thinking about what they're going to do the next day at night and just taking care of those kids' needs, but taking care of each other's needs, being supportive as a community. I think the last thing people think about is stepping back and taking care of themselves. That's almost lower on the list for most people. And in a community like Landmark that is so focused on its mission, its values, it's taking care of others, it's so important to take that pause and reflect and take care of self-care. And even to have an opportunity to go to the health center, have an opportunity to get a snack, have an opportunity to walk around the campus, to talk to a friend, to make a phone call. The self-care pieces that are not very big and can fit into a 15 or 20-minute block are critically important, especially for people who are basically caretakers, teachers, providers, always giving. At some point, you need to take back, even if you're doing it yourself. But I think it's so critical.
Excellent. Well, Bob, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. I'm suddenly in the mood for milk and cookies. So,
Oatmeal raisin, that sounds good to me.
thanks again.